order at 6:30. So I am sorry that I could not be there in person today. I am on a brief medical leave and you have permission to be working virtually. But I'm going to ask Morgan to help me with the board reorganization for this meeting. So I'm going to actually turn it over to him to assist with board reorganization.
Okay, and I think first we'll do a round of introductions because we have two new board members in the room. So start with Arlene.
Arlene O'Rourke from Bakersfield.
Sandy Alexander, principal at Montgomery Elementary.
Teresa Wishcock, principal at Sheldon.
Morgan Daybell, CFO for Franklin Northeast.
Mary Niles from Montgomery.
Emily Norris, Sheldon.
Rebecca Jacobs from Sheldon.
Sarah Como from Brookshire.
Michelle DeBurge. I'm the Director of Student Services.
Erin Pocket, acting principal, Berkshire.
Michelle Scobb, board member, Montgomery.
Courtney Fletcher, communications coordinator and administrative assistant. And then we have
Audrey Shea, board member, Bakersfield.
Kevin Briggs, principal, Bakersfield.
All right. And Rebecca and Sarah have both taken the oath of office, so you are able to participate fully. And we also have Lisa Hango joining us online right now, it looks like. And so for board reorganization, the first position open is for chair. Mary Niles has been the chair the past year, and the floor is open for nominations.
I would like to nominate Mary for chair again.
Emily has nominated Mary Niles for chair. Are there any other
Do
nominations?
you need a second or you want?
Don't need a second. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I guess we will do this by roll. All those in favor of Mary Niles as chair, Arlene,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Audrey,
Aye.
and Lisa.
she might not be able to respond.
Okay, she may be actually away, so I think just do 7:01. And I can now turn it over to you, and you're looking now for nominations for vice chair. Emily Norris is the current vice chair.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Emily Norris for vice chair. Any other nominations to consider? Okay, we'll do that by roll. Arlene?
Aye.
Audrey?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca? Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Mary is an aye. And Lisa, are you with us yet? Okay, so that's 7. Great. Okay, so next up is our clerk. Remind me who's fulfilling that role.
Arlene is currently the clerk.
Okay, Arlene, would you like to continue in that role?
I would rather not if someone else is willing to take it
Okay.
on.
Morgan, do you want to maybe give a little summarization of, summary rather, of the clerk role?
Sure, so it's one of the officers, and in theory could be called on to run a meeting if the chair and the vice chair were both absent. That is about it. There's really no taking jobs that are given to the clerk anymore.
Right. Anyone interested in that role?
I can do that.
Michelle?
Sure.
Okay, I will nominate
Counting on you.
Michelle Schapp. I don't think in the history of the board that's ever happened.
Ever. I think just one. Yeah.
All right, so any other nominations? Okay, so we'll do that by roll for Michelle as clerk. Arlene?
Aye.
Audrey?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca? Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Mary is an aye. Excellent. So next up, our SU board representatives. We send 3 members from the NMV board to that board, and Enosburg Richford has 3 members as well. It had been the last year myself in the chair role on the SU board, Emily and Miranda. I'm interested in continuing, but I do think that if we certainly need to fill Miranda's seat, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Emily would be happy to step down at this point, if someone was interested in that role. And as far as the commitment, remind me if it's 7 or 8 meetings a year, so it's not monthly.
It's not monthly.
It's August to January and then April.
Right, August to January and then April.
Yes.
We meet the third Wednesday of every month. We meet in Enosburg at the high school in the high school library. It isn't kind of the work is a bit different. It does provide a really kind of interesting kind of look at that kind of bigger picture, SU-wide policy and practice. And I enjoy serving on the board, and it's great to kind of work with our Enosburg-Richford members. So anyone else interested in stepping on to the SU board with me?
I can't leave you hanging, Mary. I'm gonna leave you hanging again. I feel like this happens every year.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I'll do my best.
Of course.
Football season's rough.
I
And then it's
understand.
hockey season also rough, so I go when I can, and as
Yeah.
long as everybody understands that. And they're okay
Absolutely.
with that, I will be there when I can.
And there is also always the option to join virtually if someone
I do.
is unable to attend in person. Like an albatross, Emily, I'm sorry.
Can't get out. Just keep there.
Okay, so far we have Mary, we have Emily. Anyone else feel like they might be able to step into that role? Yeah, Sarah, you might, okay. All right, so we
So
could
you
use.
can nominate that as a slate.
Yeah.
Does not look like it's gonna be contested.
Am I allowed to nominate myself?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll nominate Mary, Emily, and Sarah to the SU board. We'll do that by roll. Arlene.
Aye.
Audrey.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Michelle. And Mary is an aye.
Can I just say something really quickly?
Yeah.
The SU meeting for this month is actually not the third week, it's on the 15th.
Oh, right, because of the
Just-
vacation week.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Just in case you're writing the date down.
Isn't that the third?
Yes.
I guess it is it still the third week?
Mm-hmm.
Third Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, technically
Yeah.
still the third.
Technically it is. Oh, just kidding.
Oh, right, it's one of those where
Yeah.
we have 5 Wednesdays in the month. Okay, excellent. All right, moving on. So our policy committee, which Lisa Hango has been on for many, many years. I mean, I want to say more than a decade at this point, and has really done an amazing amount of work, and has been very committed to being on the policy committee. She's agreed to continue in that role unless someone else is interested in joining the policy committee. And oh, hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. Morgan, can you remind me when the policy, or Courtney, when the policy meetings are?
This year, it has been the third Wednesday at 3:30.
Okay,
Yeah.
third
But that's-
Wednesday at 3:30.
That's entirely virtual. We're all virtual.
Right,
In
okay,
that meeting.
okay. Would,
1 hour.
it's 1 hour. Would anyone like to step into that role, or otherwise Lisa has graciously agreed to continue in it? Okay, so I'll nominate Lisa for the policy committee. We'll do that by roll. Arlene.
Aye.
Audrey.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Michelle. Lisa.
Aye.
And Mary is an aye. Thank you so much, Lisa. Okay, our negotiations council, those are the two people who, when we're negotiating the master agreement and contract with our support staff, which the next round of we just signed how many year contracts?
3-year contract, so it's unlikely that we will need the negotiations council. Currently, Mary had one seat, Arlene and John Jejic split the other seat because they both had a connection to either the teachers unit or the support unit. Again, I don't think you need to worry about that split this year because we are not scheduled to start negotiations until the following year.
So but we should still update who is on the committee.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to continue doing it. So we could either have a split again with Arlene.
I don't think you need to worry about a split, and if something does come up and Arlene feels like she can't serve because of that connection, we would just bring it back to this board to come up with a second.
Okay. Do you?
I'm not quite sure I understand. I mean, there is I have a daughter who works in the district.
Right, we just don't anticipate having to do anything as the negotiations committee, so.
I'm good then.
Okay. So I'll nominate, unless there's someone else who's interested in the negotiating team. All right, I'll nominate Arlene and Mary. We'll do that by roll. Arlene.
Aye.
Audrey.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Mary's an aye. So under the finance, we currently approve our warrants electronically. They are emailed to everyone. 2 signatures are required. And really, we just need a motion to continue doing it the way we have.
So it would be a motion to approve warrants electronically with 2 board signatures.
Okay. I'll make that motion. We'll do that by roll. Arlene.
Aye.
Audrey.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Mary is an aye. And I will just put a little nudge in, just if people can try to kind of check FCU email regularly and catch those warrants in a timely manner. It definitely is appreciated by the bookkeepers at the central office. So our meeting schedule, currently we meet the first Wednesday of every month at 6:30. We have our January, February, and March meetings at the high school library in Enosburg, largely because it's more central during the worst of the driving weather for folks to get to. And then we are on a rotating schedule for the rest of the year across the different schools in the district. Any discussion about that time? Any interest in changing the time or the locations? Seems as though it generally works well for everyone. And again, virtual is always an option if the weather's terrible or you can't make it for whatever reason. Okay. So, do we need a motion on that, or that's just
You're
really
not changing it, you don't need a
informational?
motion.
Okay. Courtney, do you want to remind us the locations of where we post our meeting agendas?
Sure. I post every agenda on our website, and then I electronically send the agenda to all 4 schools and all 4 town clerks, as well as the library in Bakersfield. So those are the locations that they post.
Great. Okay, thank you so much. So next up is the discussion on Robert's Rules of Order. We use the Robert's Rules for small boards, so it's a little more streamlined for smaller boards. Lynn, do you want to speak to anything around Robert's Rules?
No, I would just ask if people are okay with moving forward with that. The big difference is just that you don't need a second. The board chair can vote when you use it for small boards. So if you're happy with the way that this has been working, I recommend that you just continue to operate under the small board rules.
Great, thank you. And we don't need a motion if we're not making any changes,
I
eh?
don't think so.
Okay. Any discussion or questions about Robert's Rules for small boards? And I believe, Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, that on the VSBA website, there's some videos. I think, isn't there a short video about how Robert's Rules for small boards work, or am I making that up? I
There are a lot of videos on that site. I could take a look and I could send it or put it in next month's
Yeah.
meeting agenda. Would you like to look at that under board business next month?
Sure, I have vague recollection of there being a little tutorial video that kind of explains the kind of difference between Robert's Rules for small boards. It might be a good just kind of primer and refresher for everyone.
Sure.
Okay,
I'll look at that.
okay, thank you.
Did you say VSBA website?
I believe it's on the VSBA website. Morgan, do you want to speak about this part?
Yep. So the next two documents are live linked from your board packet. The first one is the Code of Ethics for Vermont School Board members. And every year we ask you to take a few minutes to read that over. There's a place for you to sign it and return a copy of that, probably through Courtney at central office. Also linked is the SU's board member conflict of interest policy. We ask you to read through this as well. This is just a reminder, gives you some guidance on situations where you should recognize or you should ask about whether you have a conflict of interest in terms of acting in your board member capacity. And so that first one, we would like to get a signed copy back, and then the second one, it's linked there. It's also linked on the website, and that's just for the board to review again.
And Morgan, you think it's okay if folks sign and bring to the next board meeting?
That's fine.
Okay.
If it would be simpler, we could just bring them to the next board meeting, or maybe Erin could make a couple of photocopies today for the people that are in the room.
Oh, great. Yeah, okay. That sounds great.
Thank you.
The official media for publishing meetings.
Yeah, we have not established one. We're in a bit of a media desert up here. When we need to put something out officially, such as bid requests, we tend to do that in 7 days now. We've also done that in St. Albans Messenger. I don't think you need to take any official action for that, but it's part of the VSBA board reorganization, so we keep bringing that option to you.
Do you want to take the next one?
Sure. In terms of board communication, it's important for folks to remember that you can speak as a board when you're together. When you're outside of a meeting, you are speaking as a private citizen and you cannot represent the board. There are times when the media may come to the board or come to administration for a specific position from the board. Typically, you have had Lynn take care of those communications. She will consult with the chair or the vice chair as needed, depending on the situation. I don't know that we need a motion for that, and I'll look to Lynn to disagree if she disagrees. But it's really, at this point, a reminder to keep that in mind as you're out in public. You've got this public-private role now, and you really need to keep those two hats separate.
Thank you, Morgan.
I'll do the next one too.
Okay.
So On our website, there are two policies which we would like you to read and review. They're also linked here. The first one is on public comment, and so that kind of will walk you through what the expectations are for public comment, which you do at the beginning of every meeting. Really how to make sure that that the public is heard, but that the board is able to do its business. The second one is more specifically around handling complaints, and this will really drive home the concept of chain of command. And so we want to encourage people to try to solve complaints at the lowest level possible. If a parent has a problem with a teacher, they should first approach the teacher. If it's not resolved at that point, they would go to the principal. If it's not resolved at that point, go to the superintendent. And after that point, they would go to the board. And so as board members, when you're out in the community, you may hear complaints at a level that's not really yours yet. And so it's important that you listen to them and you hear them and you really redirect them either to the teacher or the principal or to Lynn as appropriate.
I think I want to just add there, it's important to remember that you don't want to hear, if it's a situation that could result in an appeal to the board, it's important that you don't put yourself in a position of hearing too much information in advance of some sort of an appeal or a hearing. So it's really important to push people back to the right level of where the complaint should be heard. And I think I want to add one thing. If the complaint is related to the superintendent, the proper chain of command would be the chair of the SU board.
Okay, great, thank you. Lynn, do you want to talk about the board development plan?
Sure. Mary, you and I have talked a little bit about this in the past. We've struggled to find times outside of regular meetings where we can pull people together to do professional learning together. So one of the things we've talked about was having a little more intention behind weaving in some of the VSBA trainings under board business and making sure that we're putting those kind of on a cycle. I do hope to do some work with my new board members. We have some new members on both the NMV board and on the ER board. So don't think we've done a great job of that in the last few years. And I would love to spend some time with them, orienting them to this work. So anything else you want me to add there, Mary?
No, that's good. I mean, I think that if we can find kind of small and digestible ways under board business to dive into some of this development work, that would be great, because it continues, like you said, to be difficult with everyone's schedules to find time for board retreats and that kind of intentionality around growth and development.
The VSBA, I gave them your email, your mailing addresses, so you should be receiving an orientation packet from them. Oh, you already got it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. They sent it quickly because I just gave it.
Great, thanks,
I
Courtney.
think thank you for that segue, Courtney. I think the other thing that I will say to our new board members in the room is that VSBA is a really useful organization for you as a school board member. And there are many opportunities that they'll present you with. Some are virtual opportunities where you could do it at home in the evening. And I think they have both synchronous and asynchronous learning opportunities. They also have conferences that they sometimes sponsor. We have a fall conference where superintendents and school board members join. The last couple of years it's been in Burlington, it's been at McMorry. But we have money that we have allocated in the budget for board member professional development. So if you see any of those trainings that you're interested in being a part of, please reach out to me or to Courtney, and we can get you registered to be able to attend any of those trainings. And again, read those emails as they come to you, because it's very useful information, especially this time of the year as so much is happening in rapid succession during the legislative session around education.
Thanks, Lynn.
And that's a good segue to the next one around current legislative issues. And the message here is similar to the ones that we just had around public comment. There's a lot moving in the education space right now in the legislature, and there has been for the last few years. You are certainly welcome as individuals to go and advocate in front of the legislative committees, but you would need to identify yourself as an individual doing that. You as a board are welcome to take a board level position and to share that with the legislature, but you need to develop that board position within the confines of the board meeting. And then generally what would happen is you would task Mary with taking that position to the legislature for you.
Great, thanks, Morgan. Okay, so that's it for our reorganization. Bringing us to our consent agenda. We have our prior minutes from the March 4th meeting, as well as a number of policy reads. And I just want to double check. It's members who weren't on the board at the time of that last March meeting. Should they vote on the consent agenda or withhold a vote on that since they weren't in attendance? They weren't technically board members at that time.
I don't know that they need to abstain. They certainly can if they choose to.
But it's okay if
Yep.
they choose not to.
Yep.
Okay, just double checking. Okay, so, we had, again, our prior minutes, policy, number of policy reads. Any discussion, questions about that? The consent agenda?
I had one question, Mary, on
Yeah.
the first use of school facilities. There's a line, I'm trying to find it, where'd it go? It says use of building will generally be limited to groups or individuals from the town or the local school. And I just wonder if there's a way we could switch that to be prioritized to groups or individuals from the town or the local school. Because I mean, all 4 schools are now part of this district together. And to say that we're going to generally limit to groups or individuals from the town of the local school, you know? I know that the principals have the right to change that, and just, it feels like we're trying to limit the use of our buildings rather than say, you know, they're here for our kids of all 4 schools.
Mhm.
Can you tell me if you're looking at policy or procedure, Earlene?
I believe it's policy. It
Okay,
says
can you-
H3.
Where is it?
It's H3.
Do you know which page you're looking at, which
Um,
section?
It's right after the agenda. We're page 6, or page 7.
It's in that very first paragraph,
Yes.
the 4th sentence, or maybe the 3rd sentence.
I think, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
and we wanna make the buildings available for use, and there does need to be some, limiting. We need to be thoughtful about in what ways we need to limit the use of school facilities, because it isn't and shouldn't be wide open. I think that there is other language, I'm trying to get to it, I'm having a little bit of a hard time. There's other language in there that, reflects that there's kind of a priority list, and I think that it's covered under the procedure section.
It's right
Can
under
we
it.
just-
It's 1A, 1A through D, Lynn, is what you're talking about. So it's right underneath that sentence, pretty much.
Yeah. So with the statement being for the local school district, that would be our 4 schools, our 4 communities, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what, my thought really is about gym use, with gym use being so tight that, you know,
Yeah.
oh, do we have somebody from our town on it, or, you know, no, there's a kid in our district that belongs and is a part of, and, you know, our kids go to Sheldon to play, sometimes their kids come to Bakersfield to make out a team.
Yeah, I think that
covers
generally
it.
isn't something that people resist unless they have a good reason.
Yeah.
Like they have Montgomery, for example, they have their Shakespeare Festival set up in there, there's no way they can
Right.
give access, to that, but I think, Arlene, does it cover your concern when you read 1A?
Yeah, I think so, as long as we look at, we have the understanding that local school district means Northern Mountain Valley, or even the Franklin Northeast Supervisory Union, that we're all part of that same group that's prioritized as having use of the facilities, yes.
Okay, any other questions or concerns on the consent agenda? All right, so I'll make a motion then to accept the consent agenda. We'll do that by roll. Arlene?
Aye.
Audrey? Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Mary's an aye. Lynn, do you want to talk about prioritization of the meeting?
Yes, we have, a family there, I think we had someone in person and someone online, for a residency appeal. So I would ask that you put those right after the board spotlights, if we could move that in the agenda from my section, right after board spotlights. I also have, 2 executive sessions for the board, and I would ask, one is personnel and one is student, if you could move that to the end of the meeting, that would be great.
Yeah, of course, that sounds good. Okay, great. So this brings us now to our public comment. I know you're here for the residency appeal. Jared, are you here to speak? Just observing. And am I assuming that Josh is part of that residency appeal? Okay. And Courtney, there's no one else virtually that I don't see up on that screen?
That's it.
Okay, great. So then that brings us to our spotlights. We have 2 spotlights tonight, and we'll start with Erin Paquette.
So I wanted to spotlight a reading challenge that occurred when our students came back from February break. Our literacy PLC had been doing some brainstorming and some research on what are some ways that they can increase motivation with reading, increase some buy-in, and really just get the kids into some more books and more reading. So for 8 days when we returned from February break, the students were challenged to read and do some more reading. They were encouraged to read both at school and at home, and the goal for the committee was that students would read 500 books. In grades pre-K through 2, every 10 picture books that they logged gave them an opportunity to get a paper snowball. In grades 3 through 8, they used chapters to kind of measure their reading, and so every 10 chapters, those students were given a snowball. The snowballs then turned into the opportunity for them to be able to slam other classroom doors. So there was a little bit of competition that sparked some of this movement to pick up more books. The goal was, at the end of this, was to have the least amount of snowballs on their classroom door. If they did that, if they accomplished that, then they celebrated with some pizza. There was I forgot about the evidence, so we do. Speaking of it, just a couple doors. You notice the little snowballs, they did add up around the building. We did eventually, at some points, find snowballs on adults as they're walking down the hall from gathering students from classrooms. Sometimes we'd have to be like, oh, we got one caught there. It did become quite a lot of energy. It also opened the door for some learning about healthy competition and making sure you're being kind to one another when people are putting snowballs on your doors. But for the most part, there was a lot of positive energy throughout the building during these 8 days. So there was also an ultimate celebration. Again, we were trying to get kids to read, and so the class that entered in the most amount of reading in their reading logs would earn a pizza party and Ben & Jerry's, which was donated to our school for that celebration. So the results, class participation, you'll see most of the classes had 50% or more participation throughout our building. 8th grade, we had to do a little special note there. They did read. We actually have some evidence at the end of pictures of them reading. Our 8th graders actually go into kindergarten and 1st grade now, and they do reading activities with those students. And we do have some avid readers in that class. They just did not want to fill out logs. So they did not have any percentage there, and not as many snowballs from that group. But they did participate, even though they didn't showcase them. So, huge amounts of reading happening at Berkshire. The participation was phenomenal. They did meet their goal. In fact, they were over 500 books. Our 1st grade classroom had the least amount of snowballs on their door, so they got to celebrate with pizza. And then Miss Eva's kindergarten classroom had the most amount of reading, and they got to celebrate with pizza and ice cream last week. Getting student feedback was really fun. I was waiting when I was going over the feedback to see, the pizza was great, it was great to slam the snowballs, and it's there. There is feedback on that, but I think the really powerful piece here was students talking about how they were excited about or can't wait for more reading. The next book, talking with people about the books. There were, and like I said, there are some kids who talked about they can't wait for the next challenge. They can't wait for the next time that they get to compete with one another. But it was really powerful to see lots of students talking about, like, I can't wait to read more. I can't wait to get, like, the set student talked about reading the 6th book in the next series. So it was really nice to see. But so I showcased this because it was fun. The students were really engaged, but this was more than just a reading challenge. I saw, and a lot of the staff commented, more students walking around the building with books, which allowed opportunities for adults to check in with them. Hey, what are you reading? Or I've seen that before. It also allowed other students to talk with them about those books. Hey, can I have that when you're done with it? We also talked, a lot of students were talking amongst each other about what are you going to read next, and like a really powerful moment that a couple of staff members saw was some of our middle school students just creating their own natural book clubs upstairs when they had some choice time to read. Not facilitated by any of the teachers. They just said, it's time to read, can we go in the hallway and do our book club? So this group, coming off of all of that energy, their next steps are to continue to facilitate and to push some of that reading with one school, 2 books. That's next on their agenda, so they're gathering the books. And I think Montgomery just did this and a couple other schools. We participated in this last year. So, and I think I said that wrong, so one school, 2 books. So our younger grades will read a picture book together, and our older grades will read a chapter book. And during that week, as they're reading, there'll be some comprehension questions that will turn into trivia. And with that, there'll be some fun prizes. They kick it off with a family engagement night where the rooms are split and they'll read the first chapter or a part of the book to kind of hook them. And then after that, there is thoughts that they would bring in another reading challenge, but this time it's more for spring. So we'll, instead of snowballs, we get to see flowers hit the doors with the theme, Let's Grow as Readers. So again, just another way for students to kind of re-engage with books, to provide some opportunities for them to see that reading is fun and enjoyable to help with those literacy scores. It's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Erin. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay. And Michelle,
All right.
thank you.
So Lynn asked me to come to the meeting to present to you about our alternative programs in FNESU, and if you've heard me talk about them before, this is a little different, so Morgan, pay attention. So since we created these programs, I would say that we have changed the way that we support our most vulnerable students in FNESU. And as many of you know and have heard, Vermont is facing a critical shortage of therapeutic programs for students. So we've even seen the closure of some regional programs, leaving many students in our area without specialized programming that they need. So instead of waiting on year-long wait list, which is what occurred in the past, and it's also an expensive outside programs that also kind of pick and choose what students they accept. FNESU has taken the lead, and we built our own internal continuum of services, and those programs are called RISE and STEPS. So the first one is RISE. So this is a program for students with developmental delays and intensive academic needs, including students with autism. There's two sections. We have one that's called Little Rise, which is located at Enosburg Elementary, and that serves kindergarten through 6th grade students. And this is where students are focusing on, we even call it like learning to learn, and working on communication, self-care, social skills. And then Big Rise is 7th through 12th grade, and that's where we're focusing on more independence, and it's really life skills heavy. We're not just teaching in the classroom, but we're working with communities and families to apply the skills, more vocational type skills. And by keeping students in our community, they get to practice these real world functioning skills in places where they actually live. So that's one thing I'm super proud of. The next program is called STEPS. Oh, whoops, I forgot that. Oh, go to the next slide.
The next one?
Yeah, I kind of talked about that. The community benefits, sorry. STEPS, this is currently serving students in kindergarten through 9th grade, and this is for students who face significant behavioral or mental health challenges. In this space, we really work on building safety and trust, and we are meeting students exactly where they are. We use evidence-based positive behavioral supports to teach replacement behaviors. And the ultimate goal in this program is for re-entry. So we build skills in the small, safe setting so that they can eventually transition back into their general ed classroom successfully. And currently in both programs, we have students from, or have had students from every school in the district. So the STEPS program serves as a bridge for students with these significant behavioral and mental health needs, and we use like a team-based approach. We have special educator, teacher, behavior technicians, and board-certified behavior analysts, and we deliver targeted data-driven interventions that do more than just manage behavior. We're really working on social and emotional skills that are necessary for long-term success, and kind of creating a personalized toolkit for self-regulation and improving not only academic outcomes, but hopefully paving a supportive path for their return to their sending schools. And then, why does this matter for our district? Mostly it's to keep kids in our community. That was my goal of this. But besides keeping kids in our community, it's very cost effective. In the past, an outside alternative placement for one student would range between $100,000 to $150,000. And then besides paying for the tuition part of it, we also would have to pay for transportation, which was anywhere between $40,000 to $60,000, depending on where the student lived. And a lot of the placements were in Chittenden County, so students had to be in taxis for like hours at a time, obviously. So, yeah, that's, now I have go to the next one, Court, because this is what's more important. I have some videos to show you.
Can you confirm the transportation piece, Michelle? If you go back on that last slide, our actual costs.
Oh, I forgot that part. Yeah, So by running these programs ourselves, we have brought the cost down to anywhere between $47,000 to $60,000 per student, and we do have 2 vehicles for transportation that are part of the included cost here, and we also have a bus that we staff that's specific for this that goes between the schools, the towns. So it's a huge difference in cost.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was an important part. Okay, now my videos.
Mrs. Fry's first.
The music gets loud on this one, so be careful.
What are you doing?
Dog treats.
Making dog treats? David, what are you doing?
Dog treats.
Dog treats. What's in your dog treats?
Hot and
Peanut butter.
and hot and
pumpkin.
whole wheat flour.
And whole wheat flour. Nice job. What do you do with the dog treats when they're done?
Cook them
We
in
cook
the
them.
oven and cook them.
We cook them in the oven, and then what do we do when they're done?
And then when it's done,
And
take it out and put it there and make it dry.
yeah, what Hilly said.
Okay. And then when you're done and you put them in bags and they're all set, then what do you do with them?
I never sell it.
Oh, you sell it. What do you do with the money you earn?
You buy snacks and stuff.
Buy Matt and movie.
Oh, you buy movies.
And you put it in the green box.
You put it in the green
or
box
you save it.
because you need to buy what with it before you can make the gift to buy it.
More supplies for
More supplies. So we have to buy supplies, and then you can also buy stuff for the.
Dog treats.
Yes, sir.
Last one.
Yeah. Cool.
Did we do good?
She did it, David. Sorry. Okay, good job. Good job. There they go. Thank you. You need to do it with them. Nice work. Go on, did you mark it? You did it.
I promise the next one's shorter, I'm sorry.
That's great. Thank you, Michelle.
This is steps.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in and sharing this with the board. This was a conversation that Mary and I had, that it's not often that the district level boards get to hear about some of the SU level programming. I know it's hard for board members to try to follow what's going on at the SU board meetings as well. So this was an attempt to give board members some insights. And one thing that I would like to say as a superintendent I'm very proud of is that the system, these programs that were designed here at FNESU are serving as models for other school systems across the state. Michelle has had probably 10 systems come and visit FNESU to see what we're doing, and we're seeing people trying to stand up similar programs across the state at a time where we're really looking at education spending across Vermont. Out of district placements, high cost out of district placements are a huge driver of that, and that's something that we actually are one of the only systems that I know of that can say that we have 0 students that are in out of district placements. All of our students are served here in our community, and that's something that we're tremendously proud of. And I thank Michelle and her team for all their hard work in doing this for our students at FNESU.
That's awesome. That's great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. Lynn, did you want me to bump you ahead of Morgan so that we could do hear?
Maintain order, but maybe just hear, go into executive to hear from the family first, so that if we could put that at the top, maybe the rest of the room could take a break and step out for a minute so the board could hear the appeal of this family.
Sure. We'll do that. So I'll make a motion to enter executive for our residency appeal by roll. Arlene.
Aye.
Audrey.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
And Mary is an aye. We are out of executive session with no motions pending. And up next is Morgan with our financial and business report.
So everything on my report is informational. I'll just call out that the yield bill has actually passed the full House now and has been sent to the Senate. As you'll see in the notes, with the yield figure of 91.70, which is what the House passed, our district level rate would actually be 10 cents lower than the prior year and 4.5 cents lower than what we warned in March. So things are moving in a good direction. That translates into lower rates than warned for all 4 towns, and the function of the impact is a little different based on what those CLAs are. It was sent to the Senate Education Committee today, which strikes me as a little weird. I don't know if Lisa has any intel on that. Usually it just goes to the money committees unless they're gonna try to insert something into that bill. So we will be watching that. The number will likely change. More schools have passed their budgets this week, and so the AOE will have better numbers in terms of how much money they need in the ed fund. The Senate will also get some updated numbers on things like lottery proceeds and rooms and meals tax. So those would be some pretty minor tweaks to the number. There is also a debate about how much current year money should be used to buy down these tax rates. The House passed a yield bill that included half of the sort of the available surplus money to buy down rates. The governor and the Republicans in the House generally wanted to use the full amount. The Democrats wanted to hold back half for buy down for next year. So we'll see what the Senate does with that. And then unless there are any questions, that's all I have. And I would just say to our 2 new board members that a lot of the finance and budget stuff is pretty convoluted in Vermont. And so you are free to call me at the office anytime if you have questions or if you want a kind of high level or low level walkthrough on any of the stuff that we do. And I will try to remember to offer that again in October when we start building the FY28 budget.
Great, you're good, Morgan? All
Very
right,
good.
thank you so much. Okay, Lynn, you're up.
Okay, I will jump right in to our personnel report. So first, we will jump to hiring. It's that time of the year. We're seeing a lot of movement, not more than normal, but movement this time of the year. Contracts went out today, so we expect over the course of the next 2 weeks, we'll start to see some people leaving and some people, we're seeing some shifting positions within the SU right now, but people are moving forward pretty swiftly in terms of hiring. So the hiring that we've done so far, and I will just say to principals that they know this, that it's possible that this is already outdated because we produced this a bit in advance of these board meetings. So Montgomery has hired Amber Farnham to teach grade 4. Sheldon has hired Steve Davio to teach grade 3. Megan Steele for grade 5-6 social studies, and Rhea Bryant for grade 3. So I would ask the board to make a motion to approve hiring for those people. I also just informational, Thomas Wagner, who was assistant technology support in FNESU, is now filling the Sheldon position part-time and doing just a couple of days a week, couple of half days a week, supporting SU level work and work in our Steps and Rise programs.
I'll make the motion.
Great, thank you, Emily. Arlene?
Aye.
Audrey?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
And Mary's an aye. So we have some movement in terms of resignations as well. Unfortunately, we're losing Allie Bliss at Bakersfield, the grade 1 teacher. At Berkshire, Amy Josie Swanson is leaving. She will be working for us as an emerging multilingual teacher in FNESU, though. Abby McLaughlin Dubois will be leaving Berkshire. She's heading over to Richford High School. And we're losing Connor Torpy, the part-time art teacher and part-time paraeducator. Sheldon is losing Marie Jackson as the grade 3 teacher, but we've hired her under the SU to be the middle school math intervention teacher. Also having resigned is Ron Hall, who resigned actually effective today. So I'd ask the board to make a motion to approve those resignations.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Arlene?
Aye.
Audrey?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Mary's an aye. Also likely not correct are open positions that we have in the SU. So in Bakersfield, we're looking for a middle school ELA teacher, a grade 1 teacher, and a long-term kindergarten substitute teacher. I believe that's for the first semester. At Berkshire, we're looking for half health. We are also looking for 0.4 art, and we are looking for elementary classroom teacher and middle school ELA. Right now, Montgomery doesn't have any openings. Sheldon Elementary, we're looking for a long-term grade 5-6 social studies teacher and a long-term grade 4 substitute teacher, both for the fall. So no action there. That's just informational. I do have an unpaid leave request for you from Bakersfield. Kristen Ward is expecting a child. She tends to work right up until she has a child, which will be in late August. And then she will take her 60 days of FMLA and would like to request that the board would approve an unpaid leave that would allow her to work through that holiday break and return after the first of the year next year. So she knows that she'll be on the hook for not getting paid and also having to pay for the insurance benefits during the time that she's unpaid. Any questions or discussion from the board about the unpaid leave request?
We've done similar.
Absolutely.
And so, yep.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the unpaid leave for Kristen Ward. We'll do that by roll. Arlene.
Aye.
Audrey.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Mary's an aye.
I have two things for personnel that we could do at the end of the meeting. I will ask Courtney, just stay right here on this page if you would. So I have, or you could stop sharing too, that would be fine. I have one other thing to just talk to the board about under student, and that is that we have another situation in Montgomery. This is just informational. I'm not using names, but we received a bill from St. Johnsbury Academy for a student that is unknown to us in a home that does not appear to be occupied by anyone. So we have seen this in the past in our tuitioning towns, that there are times that people establish residency in people don't understand that you have to actually live in a home to establish residency. And sometimes it is that they think that they could lease or purchase a home, and that will allow them to access the tuition payments. We don't know if that's the case here, but we're actively seeking information from this family. And we are not intending to pay this bill to St. Johnsbury Academy until we can prove that this child is indeed a resident, that their parent is indeed a resident in one of our NMV communities. So it's just information for the board. Any questions on that? I know that especially for new board members, the choice idea, maybe something that people have questions about.
Not at this time.
So this is our monthly quiz. Well, I'm going to actually plug myself in while the principals are checking their understanding of what Courtney was able to find on social media about their schools this month. So take it away, Courtney.
Oh, and also I put one picture per school per slide so you can all see the screen.
That's Sheldon. No, that was our math night. So we did, carnival theme. I think that was the theme for all of our schools this year. And that was Miss Chaffee with some youngins there doing one of the carnival games.
It's like Berkshire, probably their last ski trip. And just a big shout out to Caroline Elander for organizing this and pulling in all the support from the community and the staff.
That looks like a nice bluebird day, and sweatshirts no less. Love it.
That's rock and roll. A legend.
Easy for me. The next one's Montgomery.
Oh, look, it's Montgomery. It's weather at your school. Marissa Vajevany. That was our third year having weather at our school. First student showed up at 5:30.
That's crazy. That's
Yep.
cute.
Hey, Lynn, they all passed.
Phew, I'm glad to hear they passed. So we have a lot of data last month. I don't remember, but we went long last month, so we did not get through last month's data. It is in there for you again. So I can go through it. I can zoom through it. I can spend time on it. You're welcome to slow me down or speed me up because I do want to make sure that we spend some time talking about what's happening in the legislature right now. So I'll start by just saying that this attendance data that you're looking at right now is by school. So you can see the schools across the supervisory union, and it's looking at the percent of students on average that are in attendance in each of those schools. We take a look at it by grade level. So you can see, again, this is a compilation of all FNESU schools. So you can see the difference between our youngest students and our oldest students. We do see that natural dip that happens as kids get older. Their attendance does dip down. I'm going to have Courtney just go through this kind of quickly. We take a look at it by weekday. So we can see, are there days of the week that our attendance is better or worse? Fridays often is the dip day. We have in the past seen Mondays, but this year it's looking like Fridays. We also look at it by the month of the year. August always starts out strong since there's only 3 days in that month generally. And right before we get to a break, we do see a dip there. So hoping that we'll see in the next month some increase there. We break this out by ethnicity. We also break this out by gender. Oops, do we have that in there twice? Okay. We did a lot of work at FNESU on student attendance, and we were part of a grant through the University of Vermont Lerner College of Medicine, and we partnered with Monarch Maples Pediatrics, really looking at chronic absenteeism and trying to recenter our work on proactive attendance responses. So chronic attendance is defined as missing 10% or more of the school year, which could be as little as just 2 days a month. And it makes it harder for students, especially those early years, to learn to read and do basic math skills. And it has a compounding effect over time, especially when we see students that year over year are chronically absent from school. Chronic absenteeism is one of the signs that a student may drop out of high school. By the end of 6th grade, if we're seeing students are chronically absent, 1 in 3 of those are potentially more likely to drop out of school. In 9th grade, attendance is a predictor of graduation rates, a better predictor than the 8th grade test results that we see, the standardized testing results. So we've got some data at FNESU that we've been tracking. Michelle Irish has taken the lead on much of this. I'll have Courtney go to the next slide. So we took a look at every school in the system, and we've just pulled out like what are the number of students who are chronically absent for this school year. And that is based on where we were when they took a look at this data. And I believe this might have been in February, to just see how many students in that school are kind of on the list where they've already missed more than 10% of the school days in the year. And each school has a team that's really looking at those students and trying to put proactive steps in place to be able to help them to get to school more regularly. You've also seen, we recently spent quite a bit of time looking at this data. We did this right before budget. We've done this several times actually. So I could spend time on this, or I could have you dig in and look at it. I could just frame it for you to show that this is the state benchmark. So this is the difference. This is looking at NMV schools, and it's the difference from the fall measure to the winter measure. So what you should know is that this is based on the state benchmark. So Vermont's benchmark is quite high. So when the STAR assessment through Renaissance kind of looks at the state benchmark as being a predictor for the percentage of students who would be proficient, who we would expect to be proficient on the VTCAP assessment. So this data reflects that. This is our winter data. That was for reading. This is for each of the individual schools. So you can see the growth from fall to winter data in each of our schools. The next data set is connected to math. So you could see fall and you could see winter for NMV schools. And then you could see it broken down by individual school. All of this data is connected to the state benchmark. Are there any questions on either the chronic absenteeism work or the assessment data before I move on?
Lynn, can you talk a little bit about kind of family engagement and the other levers that we're pulling on to kind of work with absenteeism and improve our numbers?
Yeah, I think it varies depending on the school, and some of the principals might be able to step in and give some specific examples. But in most of our schools, we have family engagement specialists. And in some of our schools, it's the school counselor who does that same work, where they're reaching out or they're trying to get at what are the root causes for the child that's really struggling to come to school. Are there some basic needs that are not being met? Are there mental health issues that are not being met? Does the family need some support to be able to help get the student to school? I know that they've done some proactive support with families in all of our communities. And I know that some of the schools they've also tried to get others involved with making coming to school something that kids are excited about. Obviously, we're always looking at working on engagement, but I know in one of our schools, they turned it into a competition. So much like Aaron shared that competition about kids reading in the pizza party that they earned, there was one school that shared last year that they made an attendance challenge for the last trimester of the school year, and there was one kiddo in that town that wanted to win so badly that he was driving his scooter from home to home to pick up the kids who didn't show up at school, wanting to get them to get up and get to school so that they could earn the reward that they were all working towards. So that's one example. I don't know if principals have any examples they would like to share.
In Berkshire, we started this year, we do a whole school community meeting every month. And so we track those who have perfect attendance each week. And every week that they have a perfect attendance, they get entered into a digital wheel. And we spin the wheel every month. And somebody from K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and they get to celebrate. Sometimes it's a lunch bunch. Sometimes it's racing the principal. So we do a little bit of celebration there. We also have daily trackers outside the doors, and so teachers will the percentage of students are there, and so if they beat last week's percentages, they celebrate in the whole class.
Great, thank you so much, Erin. Thanks, Lynn.
So I would love to talk about some of the conversations that are happening in Montpelier around Vermont's education transformation. I will tell you that I worked working from home this week, and I was trying to work and listen to what was happening in Montpelier today. I was tuned into the House Education Committee. So I had a meeting at the end of last week, and what I'm going to show you today was accurate as of last Thursday. I can tell you from watching today, it's no longer accurate because things are changing from day to day. So right now, the shift really in both the House and the Senate, it's not really it's not really tied to forced mergers as much as what it had originally been proposed. So I'll start with the House proposal. You see a map here that's reflected of different regions. Originally, there was a conversation about this being called the Conlin map, and this was a guidance map. It was something to consider. It wasn't necessarily forced consolidation or forced mergers. So where this committee is now is they have looked at what the recommendations from the task force was this summer, and they're very focused on mandatory CESAs. We've talked about these before. These are collaborative education service areas. And so if you think about the state of Vermont, when the governor made his proposal last year, and he proposed 5 districts, and he did it by superintendent region in the state. And I think everybody can kind of remember that map, just broken into the 5 parts. The CESAs in this proposal would cover those 5 parts of the state. So you would have those 5 CESA areas that would be focused in on special ed services, business functions, district merger study facilitation, but they wouldn't be mandating district consolidation. So what they would be doing is one of the tasks that was in the CESA would be to do something similar to what was done during Act 46, where they ask districts to, or SUs or districts to work with one another to do a merger study. and there'd be some facilitation that would come through this CISA. The Conlin map that you see on the left would be used as guidance. They would want the merger study committees to look at that 2,000 to 4,000 student range as guidance. There would be some money to be able to pay the facilitators across the state that helps the communities to be able to have these difficult conversations. One of the things that they've put into their bill is that there would be no schools that would be closed in any newly merged districts for the first 3 years. And after that, all towns within that new district would have to vote to close a school. So this map has changed today. What it originally was on the Conlin map was Franklin Northeast with Missisquoi Valley and Alburg. In the conversation, I haven't watched all of today, but where I left off, they were looking at these CISA regions and they realized that they had broken up some existing SUs or SDs, and they then had some systems that were maybe in between two CISAs. So they might have some schools in one CISA region and some schools in another. So they went back through today and they tried to keep existing SUs or SDs whole. You go back, Courtney. So they try to keep that whole. So on today's map, you'll see that Alburg is no longer within FNESU and Missisquoi Valley. That was the primary change that I noticed today when they were talking about it. So I would expect that tomorrow we might see a map that reflects the work that they did in committee today. So again, this is not forced district consolidation. It is more voluntary district consolidation, but the process is being forced for people to have to go through and talk with neighbor districts to see if it's practicable for districts to come together to try to meet these goals. There are conversations that are being had about, how do we incentivize districts to want to do this? But it'll likely look a lot like Act 46 did. People have any questions about the House proposal or any comments you want to make about that?
I do have one question, Lynn. Do you know what version map you're looking at?
This was, I would say it was March 26th. I don't know which version, but there'll be a new version tomorrow morning that I just described, I would guess.
There's one that's called version 3.1 now that has the islands all in a different district, in District 22, so including Alburg.
So was that dated today, Lisa?
Yes.
So that came out after I looked then. So I looked earlier and didn't see that one on there.
Yeah, so that one's version 3.1. And I also just want to comment that I've been told not to pay so much attention to the districts as the CISAs, because the CISAs are going to be mandatory, but the districts will be voluntary within the CISAs if they want to merge with each other.
I think you're right that the CISA part is the mandatory part, and the theory behind that is that the CISA would coordinate some of the larger expenses like the business functions, special education, and they're not mandating which services is what I heard in the conversation today. So some CISAs might take on things like food service or things like that, while others may choose not to. So I still have some questions about how those CISAs will operate. I think the map part of this is that the recommendation is that that's the area that they would recommend that a study committee consider. So I think that you have the flexibility to consider beyond that, but in today's conversation, they really wanted those district merger studies to remain within one CISA region. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And just looking at this particular map, it seems to me that we would be pretty cooperative with the MVU district, MVSD. and Franklin Northeast are all in this District 18, so it wouldn't be too hard to work with our neighbors
Right.
In this CISA. So I think at least for Northern Vermont, maybe they've got it right, or at least Northwestern Vermont at this point. That's just a personal comment of mine.
So I think I might have a confusion about the CISAs because I was looking at this today. I originally thought that they were talking about 5 CISAs, but now I think it's more CISAs than that. Morgan, do you have a sense of how many CISAs they're talking about in house at this point?
Last week I saw 7, so you might be right that at one point they had 5, Lynn.
The BOCES law currently says up to 7, and they could change that if they wanted to, but that, I agree with Lisa, that seems to be the number that they're kicking around right now.
Yeah, I think they fluctuated between 5 and 7. I don't exactly know where they are right now, but I think that when I think about the CISA part, the region that I think that they're talking about for the CISA part would be the whole Champlain Valley, or the majority of the Champlain Valley. I think the part when we're looking at this map, it would be that would be recommended that part in orange or peach on the top is, in theory, they think that would make a logical partnership, and that those communities should join and do a district merger study.
The map that Lisa's referring to that is now posted on House Ed, our CISA would run from Richford to Milton.
Okay.
That's correct, Morgan. I'm looking at that one now because there are 2 different maps, one with the overlay of the CISA and the other that's just districts. And I just saw the one you're referring to.
So there's 2 different maps, and then there's the one that shows the colors and the black lines like this one.
Yes, it's labeled as districts with CISA map, draft 3.1.
All right, I will look for that later. Any questions on it? It might not be exactly right what's reflected on the map, but the theory I think we've got pretty right.
Sorry, Lynn, say that again.
I said that we might not have the map exactly right tonight, but the theory behind what the House Education Committee is thinking, I think we're pretty right on. So I wonder if people have questions or comments. It's a good time to raise them.
So Lynn, just to clarify, what they're really asking of existing districts and supervisory unions is to, for us to initiate the conversations with our neighboring systems around possible merger.
Correct. It'll be required that we have these conversations, that there is a study committee, that we come together. What's different is that the CISA will be stood up pretty quickly, and there'll be some responsibility. I believe I heard today, it didn't make sense to me, but BTVLC, does that make sense? Or maybe it was VLC. I don't know if there's 2 different organizations, and I'm just mixing up the acronyms, but there's an existing agency or organization that would help support that facilitation while the CISAs are getting stood up, because people would need to move pretty quickly to get there. They have a very tight timeline in terms of coming together and trying to make a recommendation and seeing if there's a willingness for some communities to do a voluntary merger with one another.
What high schools, if this map was accurate, what high schools would be included in our specific district? That would be BFA, MVU, and Enosburg?
So in this, what you see there, let's pretend that Alberg's not there because they took that out today. So that's just a starting place. Right now, with what I see there, it would be MVU, Richford, Enosburg. The question of choice is not addressed in this. So that would be a conversation that we would have to figure out through the merger process, because you'd have, if let's just say it was MVU and FNESU, we would have MVU is a pre-K-12 operating, Enosburg, Richford is pre-K-12 operating, and NMV is pre-K through 8 operating, 9-12 tuitioning. So our structures don't align. So we'd have to figure out what happens in terms of choice.
Right.
Lynn, if I can jump in for a minute with what little I know, and it is kind of sad that I know so little, but not too long ago, probably about Christmas time, there was a letter that was circulating from the Maple Run folks, asking if anybody wanted to enter into discussion with them, and nothing was really done with that letter. I think that might be what's going to happen with these CESAs. They won't be, unless we vote to do this, there won't be any true mergers, but there will be cooperative agreements. And what I'm looking at on the CESAs is quite a few high schools, to include BFA St. Albans, BFA Fairfax, Milton, and our schools in Franklin Northeast and MVU. So I think there could be some kind of cooperative agreements between all of those schools. And there also could be very formal mergers.
Right. Yeah, I think we're talking about two different things, Lisa. And I think that's something that I still haven't seen laid out in a way that I fully understand, because there's the CESA element of this, but then there's also the study committee element that I think is more tied to these smaller colors on the map with how they're coordinated, but it doesn't mean that's the only way to look at it. So you're right. If you're looking at the whole of the CESA, there are a lot of high schools, and there could be work that could be done to figure out those kinds of agreements, either within or outside of those boundaries.
So there's also a new draft of legislative language, which I have not read yet, but I'm skimming. It's draft number 8.1 of the bill. And
is it March 31st?
Yes.
Okay.
And the intent is that the House Ed Committee is going to pass this out tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow late morning. But there's still, according to this draft, some questions, outstanding policy decisions and questions left. And they've been so good as to highlight what they are. So it should be a pretty easy read when you get a chance to read it.
Yeah. I think that it'll be interesting to see how much they have fleshed out tomorrow morning when they come back in session.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, with the map, which I know the one we're looking at isn't the most recent one. I mean, couple questions. Is there any more discussion around a foundation formula? And if so, how does that intersect with the map and the creation of mandatory CESAs? And more broadly, we have that foundation formula piece, which we've been kind of feeling helps level the playing field as far as pulling us up from being so low spending and pulling the highest spending people down, putting caps on generally their spending. But more broadly, where are we realizing the needed savings around education costs with this proposal?
That's a great question that a lot of people are asking, is where's the modeling for this, and for any version of this. And it's really hard to even get accurate modeling because there's so many elements that have not yet been worked out. There's still work to be figured out around pre-K. There's work that needs to be figured out around what we do for career and technical education in Vermont. We still need to figure out how we're funding special education and how that all is working. In terms of the foundation formula, the law that was passed last year requires that there's a map and there's district consolidation, and that's what triggers the foundation formula. There's interest from some to move a foundation formula forward, even if there's not forced district consolidation. So we're watching that piece as well. I think you'll see more and more is going to be said about that in the coming weeks. I think that people are already focused in on the foundation formula, but I think that people are nervous because there's a lot less money for some systems that have more right now, and there would in theory be more money for systems like ours. But there's also a worry about the way that foundation formula is written and the negative impact that would have on taxpayers and communities like ours that would feel a pretty significant hit to their tax rates. So I can't really say where I think that is going to go right now. I think there are too many unknowns to weigh in on that. But I know Morgan, I'm guessing, has more that he would add or he would want to say about that.
I think you're right in that there are people who are trying to figure out a way to push the foundation formula forward. And I wonder if the way that Act 73 is written, if all we get out of this session is we've created some CISAs, if that's going to be enough to move it forward, and if that's, the real push behind getting the CISAs on there is that it's an easier lift to move to the foundation formula. But that's pure speculation.
It's hard to know.
Lynn, before you end this discussion, I just want to remind everybody that in reality, we're only halfway there. If the House is just passing out a significant piece of legislation, it will have to go to the Senate and be picked apart there. So this could change drastically.
Yeah, it's a good reminder, Lisa. I mean, it literally, we follow this pretty closely, and it's hard to even communicate about it because as soon as you figure something out, it's already changing. Like today, I was ready for this and thought, oh no, I don't have any time to be able to find the map that they were talking about when it wasn't on there. But to reflect, this is just in constant motion, and it'll look very different, as Lisa said, by the time it comes out of the Senate. And the Senate's working on something as well. So it is, I'm going to talk about that next. So let's jump to the Senate version. So this version, I feel less comfortable with. It doesn't make as much sense to me in terms of just reading through, like, I don't understand it quite as well. So there are some areas in gray, and there's some areas that are not in gray. The non-gray areas on the Senate map, from my understanding, are supervisory unions. So we are in the green area on the Senate map, and this was true as of the end of last week. I haven't watched Senate at all this week to know if anything has changed. So in their version of the map, Franklin Northeast would be merged with all of the islands to create a supervisory union. So I will just say my opinion about that. I think that they're trying to figure out what to do with the islands because they have around 500 kids out there. I know that Missisquoi Valley went and testified in the Senate Education Committee and said they really wanted to be gray because they send their students to Maple Run for CTE, so they'd like to be aligned with them. So that left this open patch between us and the islands, and on the map, the way it currently exists would put our two systems together, which for students' sake doesn't make a lot of sense because we don't have any students. There are no students from the island that come and attend any of our schools in Franklin Northeast. So I'm not worried about that right now. As Lisa said about the House version, that'll change drastically before it gets to the end. It's the same with this. So I'm not really doing anything about that right now, but I've got my eye on it. There would be for the non-gray areas, there would be a study committee and a community process that would reduce their overall map to around 50 districts across the state. I think within the colored areas, I believe it would be about 50 districts. The gray area boundaries, this part I am less clear. The way I understand it is it'll be focused on the state board will write a report on recommended changes to boundaries within that region. And then it will be supervisory unions or supervisory districts of not less than 2,500 students. This is the timeline on this is serious business. It is very fast. So supervisory unions operational on July 1, 2027. So by the end of the next school year, the supervisory unions that are in existence on July 1, 2026 will continue to provide all of the supports to the member districts until the new SUs are created and operational at the end of that school year. What this does is it protects the existing operational models. So in their plan, if you're a choice district, you remain a choice district in this, and it codifies boundaries in statute. They think in the end, this will result in us having about 56 total districts statewide. So when I hear 56 total districts, I believe this is 56 superintendents, district offices. I can't tell you that I'm 100% clear on that, but that's how I'm reading this. And that's just about what we have right now. We have about 119 districts, but we have, I think, around 50, might be 56 SUs or SDs currently. So less clear on this one. I definitely think the focus is on the operational structures from what I've seen out of this committee. Morgan, I'm wondering if you want to add anything to this.
I think the only thing that I would add is that my take in what went on in Senate Ed around our neck of the woods is initially they proposed a supervisory union that would be us, Maple Run, Missisquoi Valley, and the islands. So basically northern Franklin County and Grand Isle County. And what Maple Run and Missisquoi Valley did was went to the Senate Ed committee and said, we are already a school district, we have been an SU, we do not want to go back to an SU, we're more efficient now. And so that's why those two were pulled out, and now you have these two sort of green goalposts there on either side of NVU, kind of still saddled with that SU structure. And I have a feeling that most of those places in gray are all areas that we're saying we're already more efficient without an SU, don't cause us to go backwards.
That makes sense. Lisa, anything you want to add on this one?
No, thanks. I've honestly not been following the Senate that closely because my understanding is the starting point is going to be the House map. So we'll see.
And then when it goes to the Senate will likely take some of what they have and put it into that House proposal. That's the way it typically works. So.
Right.
Any other questions or comments on this? Okay. Morgan's already covered this, so I won't spend time on it. Just that the yield bill is good for our tax rates. That was passed. It does set us up to have the same problem next year because there's a buy down included in that yield bill. So we'll start next year $52,450,000 in the hole before we build the budgets for FY28. That the overall buy down is 75 million. So it should see an average bill increase of 7%. in terms of tax bills. And this year, education spending is up 4.2% compared to, I think, what was projected was over double digits. So school districts definitely kept spending down, even though some of our outside factors were much higher than 4.2%. There is a bill in the Senate around capping spending. There's a flat cap. When they began this conversation, it has evolved to looking at the excess spending threshold. And right now, this is something I never talk to you all about because it is so far from our reality. There's a cap on what you can spend, and for some systems that are high spending, if they spend over that cap, they have a penalty that they have to pay in terms of tax. So right now it's at 118%, and the recommendation is that it would drop to 112%, which would be a really big drop for those systems that are on the higher end, where it would essentially be dropping down into the range of what the proposed foundation formula would be in a 1-year jump. So there's a pretty strong opposition around that significant of a jump. In the foundation formula, there's always been an intended off-ramp and on-ramp in terms of increases in spending and decreases in spending. So there are some hold harmless provisions that they put in there, but it is, a lot of people are talking about that. Go to the next one. Pre-K is also something that I have not read the latest version of this, but this is something that people are. I was watching this testimony today, and topics in this draft bill have to do with school districts being responsible for families having access to pre-K either through public or private programs, in expanding pre-K in areas that don't meet the demand. Shared or district specific pre-K coordinators. I think there's significant pushback in some of the things that are being requested related to this bill, because the responsibility for some of the oversight of this and even for licensing falls to school districts and superintendents. And I will be transparent. I don't feel comfortable at all signing off on provisional licenses for people that I don't actually employ or supervise, because things that happen actually fall under my license. So that's one of the things that's people are very opposed to in this bill. They're wanting to keep 3-year-olds in publicly funding pre-K. Then talking about eligibility for 5-year-olds to be able to still receive pre-K if they don't enroll in kindergarten, and expansion of the 4-year-old program, expanding hours. There's some concern over the FTE that we get for pre-K students. Pre-K is expensive to run in our schools, and we get a portion of an FTE in terms of funding. There is some conversation about that shifting to categorical grants, which could be costly as well. So I will dig into that a little more as we get closer to the finish line, but I have some concerns with how that bill is written. Any questions on anything else legislatively that's going on? There are probably 20 plus other bills that are connected to stuff that's happening related to our schools, but those are the high leverage ones that I brought to you this month. Okay. So you all have in your slideshow a copy of the calendar for the 26-27 school year. This is a regionally approved calendar. So this is something that gets built with superintendents from the Champlain Valley region. Effective next year, in Act 73, the Agency of Education is expected to build a statewide calendar. We've never been very close in terms of statewide calendar. We've had different start dates, different end dates, different vacation dates. Superintendents from all over Vermont worked for the last 2 years to align these calendars, and we're really close now. There are some variability in the first day of school, but all of our most of our in-service dates and all of our school holidays align. To my knowledge, they did last year and they do on this year's calendar as well. So what you see is our trimester version of this calendar because all of our NMV schools are in trimesters. So you can see the color coding reflects in-service days. It reflects vacations, days off, holidays, things like that. Do people have any questions or comments about the calendar?
Do you need a motion to approve, Lynn?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make that motion. Arlene?
Aye.
Audrey?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Mary's an aye.
I think what is behind that, Courtney?
I
The
think.
EQS, DQS.
Whoa, I went back, sorry. Yeah.
So I had education quality standards, district quality standards report out, and I'll be honest, I did not get to that this month, so I will push that to the May meeting.
Do you want the class size?
No, we're gonna hold that because it's connected to
Okay,
the DQS.
I think that's it then.
Okay. So just my executives to end with, Mary.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks so much, Lynn. We'll do that at the end. Okay, so moving on then, we will do our principal reports and we'll start with Kevin.
Fantastic, I'll be happy to start. So, just last year we started volleyball. We had about a dozen kids, and this year we only have like 30-something middle schoolers, and this year we had 25 kids. So it's pretty awesome, great opportunity. Berkshire, I know, came down I think yesterday, and we had a great time with them. So it's fun to see all the kids playing hard and not being home. It's great seeing them at school.
Thanks, Kevin. Erin.
Yeah, good spotlight. The students in 4th grade took the NAEP assessment, and one of the proctors had said that, just gave them a big kudos and said that they had done a really good job and hadn't seen a group of 4th graders in a while that really just showed respect for their students and their classmates once they finished the assessment. It was good to hear.
That's great. Thank you so much, Erin. Sandy.
I would just like to say that we did have our family math carnival last week, and we had great attendance. It was a switch up with the carnival theme, which was fun. People gave us great feedback. We want more evenings like that. And we had about 70 people attend. And then also April is a very busy month, so we'll be wrapping up our Vermont CAP testing, which is wonderful, but we have our Shakespeare performance. I encourage anyone to stop by and see that on Thursday and Friday night, the 9th and the 10th. Fantastic performances all the time. And so between 2 nights of Shakespeare and 2 nights of student-led conferences, it's going to be a very busy month.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Sandy. Terry Sue.
2 quick things. When we're still working on the 50th anniversary celebration of Sheldon's school, so keep your ears open. We'll have that finalized and dates picked very soon. But also I want to really give a shout out to my 5th and 6th grade students and staff in our building the last week. I ended up providing a project, that cross-curricular project for the 5th and 6th graders to work on during global time. And I'm in the process of trying to finalize the grading on it and giving feedback, and I am so impressed with the students. It was a dream vacation. They had $10,000. I have everything from going to Paris to actually just staying home and spending the money on a family farm, and I let them modify it to their purposes, and that one's probably my favorite, just because the student really took it and ran with it and learned how to budget and what it costs to run a farm and what they can do with $10,000, which they found out wasn't very much for a farm. And it was just a really cool thing. And then they answered the reflection questions, and just, I've never seen such engagement for an entire week on one thing. So it was really exciting, and I'm very proud of them because they did their all on these projects. So yeah, I'm very proud of them and the teachers that supported them during this process. So.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our next regular meeting will be May 6th in Montgomery. I know we have 2 executive sessions, and I feel a little remiss in having not just more kind of warmly welcomed our 2 new board members. So Rebecca, Sarah, we're really happy to have you all aboard, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Central office and budget questions can go to Courtney and Morgan, and I'm always available for board-related questions, and we're really happy to have you on board for the upcoming year. Thank you so much, both of you. So any other questions from the board tonight before we begin our executive sessions? And maybe Lynn will do the appeal. We'll keep Sandy here for the first one, and then we'll do the other one, and so folks can leave, right? Okay, so I'll make a motion to enter executive session. Arlene?
Aye.
Audrey?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
And Mary is an aye, and this, to clarify, is the residency discussion. We have exited executive session. There are no motions pending. Any other discussion from the board? So I'll make a motion to adjourn. Arlene?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Audrey? Michelle?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
And Mary is an aye. Thank you all so much. Get home safe.